So today we're going to be jumping into the world of psychic types with the legendary Cresselia. So let's get into all the moves, stats, and counters to go ahead and take it down. So Cresselia has a very good bulk since it is more of a bulky Pokemon, but it does have that psychic type, so it is very useful into fighting and poison types. Now its weaknesses are going to be dark, bug, and ghost types, which is going to be easily taken care of when we go ahead and get into the counters. But first, let's go ahead and go over the moves before we jump into the counters. So Cresselia has a pretty good move pool, which makes it very useful in raids, but also in PvP because of the way its stats line up. Now, its quick moves are Psycho Cut and Confusion, both of those being psychic type moves. Psycho Cut being a very fast charging move. You can go ahead and charge up your charge attacks a lot quicker, but Confusion is a harder hitting move. So you can go ahead and do more damage faster. So it kind of is between you want to do more damage or do you want to charge your charge moves a lot faster. It is definitely up to you. I would highly recommend going with that Psycho Cut set to go ahead and charge your charge moves faster because it is very useful. Getting into charged moves, you have Moonblast, which is a very powerful fairy type move, which helps you out against dark types since you are weak to dark types. But then Aura Beam is an ice type move, which will help you cover grass, ground, and flying types. So good coverage there. And then Future Sight is a psychic type move that packs a punch against its opponent since it is a stab move and a very powerful psychic type move at that. It's one of the most powerful moves in the game for the psychic typing. But those are the moves. Keep in mind those moves are very good. We're going to be going over them later in the PvP setup for it. So Cresselia is imposing because it is a very bulky Pokemon. But let's go ahead and jump into some counters that is going to let us take it down relatively easy. And these counters actually work in raids and in PvP. So kind of keep that in mind when we are going through this. First off is going to be the dark types. Dark types are going to be super effective against Cresselia. So it is going to be vulnerable. You're going to have strong dark types like Tyranitar with Bite and Brutal Swing, which is one of the top dark type attackers. And then Darkrai with Snarl and Dark Pulse. Then you go ahead and you have Houndoom with Snarl. Foul Play can deal heavy damage too. It is not one of the top counters, but it is a counter that is still viable, taking on that dark typing. And then if you are trying to boost the dark type damage, I highly recommend grabbing like a Sableye, a Mega Tyranitar, and maybe a Absol. You know, some of the dark type megas to go ahead and help you output more damage. Mega Tyranitar is going to be one of the top, so keep that in mind when you are trying to pick a mega for this, if you are wanting to output more damage. Now, getting into bug types kind of get a little bit overshadowed a lot, but it is going to be a very viable option here because you do have bug types like Pinsir with Bug Bite, X Scissor, Fury Cutter, and X Scissor to exploit their weaknesses to bug. You can go ahead rock a bug mega, kind of like a Pinsir, a Scissor, something along those lines to go ahead and boost more damage for them. Let's go ahead and jump into the ghost types, which is one of the prevalent counters here since we do have lots of options and they can do massive amounts of damage. So some ghost types you can use is going to be Gengar. Gengar in its mega form is going to be the top counter for him. And it's going to be Shadow Claw, Shadow Ball, deals massive amounts of damage. If you do end up running the Mega, it's going to be insane for damage. Then you have Chandelure, which is Hex Shadow Ball. It can deal heavy Ghost type moves. It is, honestly, for not being a Mega, not being a Shadow, it is one of the top Ghost type counters for this raid. But we do have the Dark, the Bug, and the Ghost types covered. Let's jump into some performance scenarios for PvP and raids. So in raids, Cresselia is a tough opponent to take down because it is a very good bulk. So it is something to keep in mind. But in the Great League, it's really going to shine in the Great League and Ultra League. Make sure you keep that in mind whenever you are taking him down to get a good IV set for him. Cresselia can shine in the Great League with its low CP cap. So if you are going for that, you can go with a 2-15-15. That's what you're going to be looking for the Great League. That is going to bring his CP down because his attack is going to be lower. So you can actually go higher in everything else in his bulk. In the Ultra League, he becomes an even more formidable foe because he can get a higher set And that's going to be a 0, 13, 15 for that set to go ahead and maximize it. With that, you become incredibly bulky, and if you actually build around it, you could just sit there and wall, get rid of everything that is weak to, and there's no problem. Like, you can just carry through Ultra League and Great Leagues and climb the ranks if you would like. Very good Pokemon here for the PvP League. If you are looking for that, you could also trade for it to see if you can get a lower set, or you might end up with a better set. Who knows? To make the most of Cresselia, let's go ahead and jump into the recommended moves, which is going to be the quick move of Psycho Cut like we talked about earlier. It's a fast charging move. And then your charge moves can be Moonblast to cover your Dragon and Dark type threats, which you are weak to Dark, so you do have an option to hit them. And then charge move of Future Sight, a hard-hitting stab move, can always carry you through if they are resisting or they are weak to Psychic type damage, like the Fighting and Poison types. But having Moonblast is a very solid option. If you would like, you can run Aura Beam, but I would highly recommend running something else to cover that weakness in the team because it makes it a little bit easier. But now that we have covered moves, counters, the spreads you would like to find for PvP, let's go ahead and jump into the weather boosts for the last thing. In windy weather, it's going to be boosting all Psychic types, so it will get that boost and be able to have a higher CP stat. Now in foggy weather, you're going to be boosting that Dark and Ghost types to go ahead and maximize your damage there when you are going into it. So make sure if you stack a Mega in that weather, you can do massive amounts of damage and take this down a lot, and I mean a lot faster, which is insane. In snowy weather, it is going to be boosting that Aura Beam, so that's something to keep in mind when you are going in there. Rainy weather is going to be boosting all Bug type Pokemon, so if it is raining, you can definitely throw in some bugs and go ahead and clean house with them because of the weather boost. Cloudy weather is going to be boosting that Moonblast, any fairy type moves, so make sure you watch out for that. If it is running the Moonblast, your Dark types may want to have a little bit of a setback there and use your Ghost and Bug types because of their weakness to fairy. That is a comprehensive guide on what counters to bring, what moves it's going to have, what uses it's going to have in the Great League and Ultra League, and the weather boosts. So if you did like this one and it did help you out, go ahead, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.